All right, we are recording.
Okay. Um, Good evening, everyone. It is January 26th, 2026, and this is a regular meeting of the Police Commissioners Advisory Committee. My name is Ronald Wilkinson. I'm one co-chair, and I will let the other members of the committee introduce themselves. We'll start next with Paul Yee.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Paul Yee. I'm the other co-chair of the PCAC committee. And why don't we go to the members and then the non-voting members after that?
Okay, so Scott next.
Hi, I'm Scott Ananian, a town meeting member from Precinct 10 and a voting member of the committee.
Okay, and Christine.
Christine Knopf, town meeting member, precinct 15, and voting member.
And John.
Hi, I'm John Hilliard, voting member of the committee and town meeting member in precinct 11.
Okay, those are all the members who are here tonight. We are a missing member, Kimberly Richardson. Perhaps she'll join later, but anyway. Okay, let's go to the non-members. Let's start with Ann Braga.
Good evening, Ann Braga, HR Director for the Town of Brookline.
Okay, Sarah.
Sarah Kaplan, Brookline's ADA Coordinator and Community Relations Specialist and Staff Liaison.
And Susan.
Good evening, Susan Harris, Associate Town Council.
Okay, and Paul Campbell.
Paul Campbell, Police Superintendent and outgoing PCAC Liaison.
Okay, and now Russ O'Neill.
Good evening, Russell O'Neill, Deputy Superintendent with the Brookline Police Department, incoming Community Service Division Deputy Superintendent.
Welcome.
Thanks.
And I think that covers everyone who's here right now. So Sarah, could you please put up the agenda?
Sure.
Okay, great. So the next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from our December 8th meeting. Are there any questions or comments about the minutes from the December meeting? If not, can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Chair, point of order, because we are remote, I'm going to request that you do a roll call vote. So each member is going to need to state their name and their vote.
Okay, but do I still have to have a motion and a
You
second?
do have to have a motion and a second.
Okay.
A motion to accept the minutes as written.
Okay.
Paul Yee.
Do we have a second?
I second that motion.
Okay, thanks. So now we'll do a roll call vote. Paul Yee.
Abstain. I wasn't here.
Okay. Christine. Christine.
Yes, I
Okay.
accept the minutes.
John.
Yes, John Hilliard votes aye.
Scott.
Aye. Steve Ananian, aye.
And the chair votes aye. So the minutes from the December meeting are accepted. Okay. Next item, public comment. Sarah, do we have any people awaiting public comment?
1 second. I do not see anybody in the room that it would be considered part of the public, except for Russell O'Neill, who's taking on a new role. So I do not believe we have public comment at this time.
Next item on the agenda are our reports. So first is the monthly civilian feedback report. And Sarah, can you lead us in that?
So I submitted the monthly feedback report. It's in the packet. Second. As of right now, we have 22 non-test respondents. They were received via this form. Via the old form. The first comment was submitted on December 15th at around 9 a.m. was somewhat negative, and the second was received around on December 20th around 11 a.m., which was very positive. Both are in the data below. In addition, there were 3 test responses were received. They were all made by Ron Wilkinson that were not counted toward the data, but they were listed in the response section below as is custom for this report. Lastly, please note that as of January 25th, the PCAC feedback form has been moved to Google Forms after extensive vetting by the PCAC for both screen accessibility and translation reasons. The SurveyMonkey form will no longer be listed on the town website and will be defunct. All future data will come from the Google form. The data is below, and I highlighted the 2 pieces of data we received, or the 2 comments we received rather, and also all of the comments that were tests. So positive is on the left. It starts on page 9 or page 8 if you would like to read it, and goes into page 9, or actually into page 10. And then the somewhat negative comment, I'm sorry, what's all the way at the bottom here? Let me check. Yes, is in the middle. And starts on page 15. Yeah, is on page 15. If you'd like me to read the comments for the record, I can do so.
No, let's start with the negative one.
Okay. It is somewhat negative. It is not very negative. That was the selection made by the complainant. I was at the pedestrian crosswalk on Hammond Street across from the school playground. I just dropped my son off at the early childhood program and pressed the button to cross the street. I pushed the button across the street and waited before crossing. A police officer was at a distance, maybe 5 to 10 seconds away, before he crossed the pedestrian crosswalk. He completely ignored the flashing lights and did not slow down or stop at all. If I had walked in the street, he would have easily hit me. I felt unhappy that the police officer, who was supposedly be guarding our public safety, was not paying attention to the lighted signs, since he had plenty of time to stop. My family often uses this crosswalk to go to and from school.
Okay. I suppose I suppose it would be difficult to identify the police officer, but it sounds kind of a general. I'll ask the Paul and Russ if in general when not responding to an emergency or something like that, officers are supposed to pay it in patrol cars are supposed to pay attention to regular traffic laws, same as everyone else. And this looks like a case in which, at least from appearance, that that he was maybe a little too hasty. But any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so yeah, not responding to a call, the police officer should be following traffic regulations, the same as everybody else. It wasn't clear to me exactly what, if this person was saying that he pushed the button and there was a red light. It wasn't clear to me, was he at one side of Hammond Street? I assume this was Hammond Street, and the police officer was going on the other side of Hammond Street. It just wasn't entirely clear to me what the details were here.
Yeah, okay. So the fact that he called it ignored the flashing lights made me wonder if it was one of those pedestrian crossings that is not actually a traffic light, but just a kind of a pedestrian crossing in the middle of the street where you push the button and a kind of a light just kind of goes.
I was wondering the exact same thing, except I'm not aware of one of those in that area. But I had the same thought.
Yeah. Okay, well that's noted, and I suppose as a kind of a general thing, you can I don't know if you call it re-emphasize to officers in general that if you think it's necessary that they should follow those rules, and someone had a concern about it. Okay, Sarah, is anyone, would anyone else like to comment on this particular one?
If I could make just one comment about something not related to this, but earlier, Sarah, I think there's a typo up above. I believe we switched to Google Forms just this month, but it says January of 25.
Okay, you're right. If it says January 25, it was an honest typo mistake. I can fix it
I
for next
assumed just
one.
a typo. I figured we'd correct it before it goes into the record.
Yep, I can fix it when I submit next month's report. This one has been submitted to the select board as written. So,
Okay, I'd like to hear the positive comment, the other comment now.
okay. Good, this is directed directly to Chief Faster. Good morning, Chief Faster. I'm writing to formally express my sincere appreciation of the outstanding professionalism, diligence, and thoroughness demonstrated by Officer Stephen Weinstein. He gave the officer number during an investigation conducted by your department. On October 18th, Officer Weinstein was assigned a case and he gave the case number involving a found wallet that had been turned in by Mr. Alex Seninoff. With very limited information regarding the wallet's owner, other than the student business card found inside, Officer Weinstein was able to successfully identify and locate the owner, who was my 15-year-old son. My son had inadvertently dropped the wallet while visiting your town. Throughout the course of this investigation, Officer Weinstein demonstrated exceptional attention to detail, persistence, and strong commitment to community policing. His professionalism and dedication turned what could have been a stressful situation into a positive and reassuring experience for our family. The level of service displayed during this investigation reflects highly on your department and exemplifies the standards of professionalism the community relies on. Please extend my sincere thanks to Officer Weinstein and ensure he is recognized for his exemplary work. Our family truly appreciates his efforts. Thank you for your continued commitment to public safety and professionalism.
Always nice to get one of those. And I presume that Officer Weinstein has been appropriately praised for his efforts. Okay, great. So those were the two comments. Those are that brings us up to date. I have next on the agenda a proposal for two possible changes to the new form, which I had tested out. Is there a way to bring up the is there an easy way to bring up the new form on the screen?
No, I like there's not an easy way to bring up the new form.
Yeah.
I didn't include a saved copy of the form. I'm gonna be honest, I would prefer, given that we literally just released this form, that we do not make changes for at least a couple months.
Okay, that's okay. That's fine. So I do want to mention the couple of thoughts that I had. One is that at the beginning of the new form, it says as appropriate that this is kind of to give feedback, positive and negative, whatever, and whatever about the Brookline Police, and it also includes a couple of links that say, but if you want to make a formal complaint to the police department, here is a link to the police department's complaint form, and here is a link to the PCAC's version of the formal complaint form. And my first suggestion was that I would also like to see I think it would also make sense to have a link to the police department's commendation form. And well, it's just a matter of balance, because I think of the feedback form as being able to give positive and negative feedback. I like the idea of people able to go to a very positive commendation form as well. And so my first suggestion was just to add a link alongside the complaint form links to add the commendation form link. So I just wanted to see how other people felt about that. And it doesn't have to go in right away. It was just my thought about helping to keep things kind of balanced in both directions. Any thoughts about that?
I think when we talked about switching to new form, after we discussed it extensively, uh, we said we would give it a couple months and then tweak it. And that's with respect to, I think when we were talking about the breakdown of demographics and all that. And I think it would be good if we just table this at this particular time and then come back to it in a couple of months, both items. And instead of giving it full discussion, and we're not going to make a decision on it, unless everybody wants to make a decision on it at this point in time and not table it. But that's my suggestion.
I believe Scott's hand is up.
Scott?
Yeah, I was just gonna. I had a comment about the negative form. I was just going to. I mean, this is another example of where having accurate time or date or other information, the ability to follow up on the complainant would help. It's sort of unactionable without knowing, even what day it was when this happened. We do have.
We have that data, Scott. Like,
Well,
it says when the incident happens. It's just not something that we've ever collected in our report.
in this report.
So
So
the older form says when did the incident happen, and it's just not something that, like, it's not been data you've asked me to collect in the report, so I don't add that information to the
okay.
report.
So it seems like we could at least figure out which officer was in the area at the time and date specified, right? And get their perception. Was there a reason they were hurrying through? Were they actually responding to a call? What the circumstances were? It doesn't seem like we've done that yet, right?
I would put that as a maybe, depending on when the police department were notified, it's possible. But without date and time on a particular street, if we got that information same day, that might be helpful, but there's an awful lot of police cars out on the road. And so if we get it a few days later, where you're driving down Hammond Street, it might be difficult to pin down specifically. The more detail, obviously, we had, would be better. And if we had like a cruiser number, obviously that would be ideal.
Right.
That I do not believe was given to us.
Say that again.
That information about the cruiser number, was not in the comment. Otherwise, it would be in the report, or it would actually be redacted from the report. But there would be note that it was redacted. There's no information about who the officer was or the car they were driving.
Right. The general point I was making was that the issue that we have with these complaint forms generally is when we can't follow up because we don't have enough information. That if folks give us very precise information about the date and time, we can follow up. If they have contact information that we can come back and ask for some of that information, those all make these more actionable. It seems like the feeling is that this report right now is not actionable because it's not specific enough. I just want to make sure that we are, doing what we can to chase stuff down when we do get that information. I mean, yeah, like this is not a huge issue in it of itself, but a collection of things like this might be something that eventually becomes a pattern. If we habitually get traffic reports about a specific officer, even a specific intersection, right? I just want to make sure that we are doing what we can to follow up on these and not just letting them drop.
I guess I can add on a little bit to Scott's point. Sarah, who will be getting, now that we're on the new Google Forms, who will be getting these when
So
they're?
I have access to that form because it runs through my office's Google. So how we manage forms in our office is Google because they're more accessible and easier to translate. So I check the form once a month and I can forward it to the officer who is assigned to this group, or I can forward it to Ray Richards, whoever you think is best.
Well, so I was gonna say, is there a way, so I'm assuming that there's, my memory from SurveyMonkey was that the issue was with licenses, and that's why there were a limited number of people who could get access. And I'm wondering if now that we're with, using a Google form, is there a way that when someone submits the form, the information goes out to a couple of people, including someone at the police department? Ray Richards happens to be on deployment, so we're waiting for a replacement to be named. Right now, it's Chuck Thornton, but that's on very short term.
So I think I can add someone else's email, even if it's not a Gmail account, but I don't know if Gmail will send necessarily a notification every time you get somebody making a report. I have not gotten a notification. I just have a day that I check the report every month
Okay,
and put the data in. So I think that, we would need to either check it more regularly or the officer could check it more regularly, because once he gets access to the report, he has access to it.
yeah,
I-
that would be worth, it would be worth looking into, and then that might, that might make some
So-
of these more actionable, as to Scott's point.
So would you like me to give access to Officer Thornton right now, or who would you like me to give access to?
Yeah, yeah, if you want to give access to Lieutenant Thornton, or you know what? As I bring this up, maybe holding off right now. So we're making a series of, we're in the process of making some promotions, and we're moving some people around. Ray Richards is gone until probably a year from now. And so I don't know exactly how it's all going to shake out, but maybe over the next week or two, we could figure out, how to give someone else access, and then either myself or Russ can be in touch with who that would be.
Okay, but I just want to be clear, the information that is on this report, the one you're currently reading, that information came from SurveyMonkey. So if you would like me to copy paste any of this information into an email and send it to somebody, let me know who, and I will. Because I don't think I can give them access to it, not from the back end.
I think this is going forward, I think, right?
Okay,
Yeah, I think this one's probably a little too far gone.
okay,
And, but we can forward the Steve Weinstein information to Steve and his personnel file.
okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Yeah, I think because it does seem like this is much more actionable sort of the day after. I quickly looked, it looks like Google Forms does have a setting where they will send email on every form submission, so we can investigate that too. And I'm fine for just tabling this until the next meeting when we've got the personnel in place to add to this. I just, and this is sort of preview of coming attractions. Ron, I think the main takeaway that we discussed last time that I wanted to, that I had suggested that be included in the report is just that, being able to follow up on some of the issues which were not sustained is sort of the biggest, in my opinion, open issue with the complaint process. I am hopeful that our new form is going to make this more actionable. If it lets us get emails directly to the duty officer the next morning after an incident like this, even though it's a minor thing, I think that would be progress. That would be something to be proud of. And praise too, to your point, Ron. It doesn't seem to me that anyone has trouble finding the form when they do want to make a praise rather than a complaint. And if we can more timely convey that to the officers involved, that seems good too.
To that point, this is something I was going to make a suggestion on tonight. If we want balance, I just note if you go to the PCAC website and you look, police complaints has its own tab on the left of the page, prominently featured. And if you want to submit a
Commendation.
it's called feedback. It just says for feedback. that's halfway down the page. So it might make sense if we want balance to put both of them there. In the same location, just something to consider.
And I was just going to say that some of the things that we had asked for in the new version of the form about specific times and dates also applies to commendations, right? If someone reports, hey, this officer was really great to me, we want to encourage them to tell us the time and date of that so that we can identify the officer who was great as well, right? So I think some of the fields that are in the feedback form are still useful if you're trying to do a commendation rather than a complaint.
Okay, those are all good noted. Are there any additional comments? By the way, I have no problem with tabling the other amendments to, let me ask this I've heard positive things about the notion of at least adding the commendation link to the feedback form. So that I don't think that's necessarily controversial.
Any changes to the form need to be voted on.
Yeah, I do realize that. And I know that we also wanted to let it kind of settle in for a while. So, I mean, I have no problem with tabling both of the suggestions that I brought up for this, that I have on the agenda for discussion. I have no problem with waiting a couple of months for that. And I didn't consider it to be a hurry in any, they were just my thoughts when I tested the form. So, if there are people who would like to wait a couple of months before revisiting this, that's fine with me. I know that Paul feels strongly about it. How do other people feel about it?
I think Deputy Superintendent Campbell was talking about the website, not the form. Like if you go to the PCAC website, on the left-hand side, there's a link for police complaints, but not one for feedback. So that would be something that we could do. Yeah, we could do without changing the form in any way.
So hold on. If I'm going to make changes, I need to stop sharing for a second. I can't access the town's website and share my screen. Hold on. All right. So hold on. Sharing. There we go. So we're on the town's website. What would you like me to change about the website? Would you like
I think
me
we're talking
to
about that
change?
left-hand side here, right?
So you want this link to now say what?
Or an additional link for feedback? Was that what you were suggesting, Deputy Superintendent?
Yeah, so if you look, so you have police complaints there, but Sarah, if you scroll down a little bit more, you'll see, you'll see now the second line right there, Brookline Police Interactive Civilian Feedback Form.
Yeah.
So, if we're talking about we want balance, that one's buried a little bit. I know people are able to find it. But
So do you want it on its own page or do you want it on this page? And
I would say
the name of the page be changed.
I would say you could put either, like right now, there are 4 links there. You could put a 5th link. Police complaints, police feedback, police commendations, however we wanted to word it. I'm wide open. I just think, putting them, in the same general location makes sense.
So I'm just the person who's going to make the change. What the content of the website should be something the commission like decide.
Well, maybe the link, the second link there, Brookline Police Interactive Civilian Feedback Form. Maybe that exact link, exact wording gets, right below police complaints.
Okay.
I would think something like that would be, sufficient.
Yeah, I think that makes sense to me too. John has raised his hand.
Yeah, just maybe for the future topic section, I'm wondering if just to like make the site its own future topic of just like a review of what's on it and how we want people to interact with this, and what's like sort of fair placements of links and things like that. I think so I'm happy to put together some thoughts just to like review what's there and like sort of come up with some user stories of like what we want people to see and do. That way it's sort of not sort of ad hoc changes for Sarah to do. We could just try to organize it a little bit.
That would be very helpful for me. If the PCAC were to meet and talk about it, or if they were to assign it as a special interest to one of the members who meets with me separately just to make the changes and then share it with the group. Either option.
Well, I'm thinking that since John has expressed interest that we should assign it to him. How do other people feel about that?
I'm happy with delegating.
Sounds good.
Great, John. Thank
It's
you
fine
for
with me.
volunteering.
Okay, so
Now my
John,
full support.
okay. So John and I, if it becomes a special interest for John, then I can, John, I'll reach out to you and we can set up a time to meet before
Perfect.
the next meeting and just make changes.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay,
Fantastic.
sounds good. Okay, maybe go back to the agenda.
1 second. I'm admitting Kimberly Richardson.
Oh, yes.
I'm having some issues with so many open things on my screen. Give me 1 second, please.
I think Kim just joined, so welcome, Kim, another member of the PCAC.
Okay. Host. Okay. All right. You should be able to see the agenda now.
Okay, so I come to around the report section of the agenda, and actually just decided to table a couple of suggestions I had for updating the new feedback form, because it just went into effect, and it was suggested that we give it a couple of months to settle in before considering changes, and I'm fine with that. So that's where we are. So now we're up to 5B. Review of complaints you recently received via the PCAC complaint form. It actually turns out that we haven't received any new complaints via the complaint form. So that's, yeah, so there's nothing to discuss for 5B. 5C is I want to discuss and vote on for approval of the draft civilian complaint procedures form. And I would like to can we bring that up on the screen? Yeah, okay. So, we discussed this once in December, and I took the suggestions that were made there, and I think I've added a bit more content in terms of, for example, the correlating the source of a complaint with the degree with the severity of the complaint, some things like that. So, if we could. First of all, has everyone had a chance to review this on their own, as I suggested earlier? I know we're all busy and it isn't always possible, but I just kind of wondered if people generally had a chance to look at it and if they have any comments about it.
Just wanted to thank Ron for putting this together. It's very detailed. It took a lot of time and effort, and a lot of time since he had to do it himself. And thank you very much, Ron.
Okay, should we kind of quickly scroll down and so people get at least a kind of a gist of it if they're less than familiar. So Sarah, could you scroll down a bit?
Where would you like me to stop?
Okay, we can stop there for right now. So it starts out summarizing first of all, the General Order 34.C, which is the official policy for civilian complaints by the police department, and it's like 45 pages long. So the first thing that this report does is it summarizes the relevant parts of that form from the point of view of people like us and civilians who might want to have an idea of how the police department handles complaints. So that's what this first section is. Okay, please scroll down a bit more, Sarah. Yeah, I'm gonna go to the second page. Okay, data compilation method for this report. Scroll a little bit farther up, please. No, far down, sorry, I'm thinking of it differently. Okay, fine, so stop, please. Okay, so just how we compile the data. So I made use of the official police department mid-year and end-year reports for 2023 and 2024, but I also got access to the unredacted complaint investigation documents at police headquarters. I was not allowed to get the unredacted versions emailed to me or anything because they were unredacted. And so I spent a few days at police department headquarters going through everything, and it was very worthwhile. Okay, so next is criteria for data interpretation. Could you scroll up a little bit for that? Okay, it's just those two things. Okay, so fundamental assessment was just looking at the statistics on things like number of complaints, timeliness of processing, timeliness of outcomes, and whether there were any appeals. And then the second, I think of that as kind of quantitative, and then more of a qualitative thing in my opinion, reading the details of individual cases, looking at statements by all the parties involved, and look at the way the details of processing and the final reports by the investigating officer to get a sense of the quality of the interactions among the parties involved, the investigating officer's mediation skills, and the satisfaction of both the accused and the accusers with the final rulings on their cases. So that was what I was shooting for. Okay, please go down to page 3. Okay, so these are some of the stats. Processing times. By the way, notice we don't, for a police department of our size, and I think even compared to other cities like Newton, and I haven't put that in there, but we get relatively few complaints. I mean, we got 10 complaints, formal complaints in 2023 and 13 in 2024, and that's actually pretty good. So, and then so that particular processing time graph just shows how quickly the complaints were dealt with, and by the way, the department regulations GO 34 actually say that the complaints have to be started within a few days of being received, and they should, and the investigation should be wrapped up within a month of being received, unless there are extenuating circumstances in which the investigating officer can appeal to the police chief for an extension of another month, and that's pretty much it. And so the times here, it's not surprising that anyway, so it's not surprising that the medians in 2023 were about a month, and the median not somewhat different. The maximum actually was because there was an appeal and an appeal process. That's why that was why it was when it took a long time. In 2024, I think Ray Richards was actually very fast about wrapping things up. So the median time was just 2 weeks in that particular case, and so half or less than half or more. So so there's that, and then to scroll up a little bit to the graphs also help. Could you scroll up a little bit, Sarah, so we can see the graphs? Yeah. Okay. So so there's 2023 and 2024. You see there's that an anomaly in 2023 where one took a very long time. That was one with the appeal. But other than that, it was not surprising that they tended to take about a month. It was something very quick, simple happened. And then in the case of 2024, things, there was not an anomaly, so there wasn't a huge jump anywhere. The longest time was 50 days, which is there was one month, it was a month extension, and it was wrapped up within that second month before the end. So that's what we had there. So just general eyeballing to give a sense of how the complaints were processed. Okay, please go to the next page, Sarah. Let's see. Okay, so those bullet points are pretty much what I just said. So the next perhaps up there, please. Submission routes. So in 2023, the submission routes were not broken down as finely as in 2024. But 2023, we have online complaint form, we have online complaint form plus mail, and we have online complaint form plus phone. And the complaint severity, a class A severity is very strong. A class D severity is pretty much trivial. We consider it to be pretty trivial. And so with the online complaint form, which is used by far more than anything else in 2023, there were a total from the online complaint form, and they tended to be Class B complaints. And if you look at the legend at the bottom, a Class B complaint is allegations against an officer which, if true, could be construed to be a violation of any laws, rules, regulations, or policies of the department or town, or alleged discourteous conduct or language which would reflect negatively on the department or the town. In some ways, that's a fairly broad category, but so most of the complaints are at that level. I won't go into the others right now. You can look at it on the report. For 2024, we actually had more fine-grained ideas about the routes. So there was the online complaint. There were two versions of an online complaint form. There's one on the Police Direct website, and there's one in the PCAC webpage. They actually are essentially the same complaint form. It's just different routes for people to complete it. The online civilian feedback form is what we looked at today. It's not really a complaint form. It's just feedback in general, but complaints might have been mentioned. And when it looked like a complaint was could be followed up on, that was on the feedback form, the investigating officer did follow up. So we had one that was considered to be a Class B complaint, and one that was considered to be a Class C complaint. Then and also in 2024, there was one that was just an email. There was one person who emailed the chief, the select board, and the bicycle advisory committee, and was considered to be classified as a B complaint. That was a bicyclist who was upset that he felt that the bicycle lanes were not being properly enforced, that people were parking in the bicycle lanes, and he was upset about that and wanted to let everybody know about it. Then there was one voicemail complaint and one phone call to dispatcher, and I don't remember the exact details of those particular two. They didn't stand out to me the way the bicycle one did, quite frankly. But I can certainly, for anyone who's interested in learning more about those, I can certainly give you redacted versions of the reports that were involved. Okay, next page, please. Okay, so then this is where oh yeah, there's one more outcomes. The bullet points are pretty much what I just talked about. The outcome graphs have to do with pretty much what the results were. So in 2023, actually seven of the allegations were found to be unfounded. One was considered not sustained, which essentially means that they couldn't just figure it out one way or the other. Not processed per policy is an interesting one. If the events in a complaint are more than 6 months past before the complaint is filed, the GL34 pretty much says that they can't be pursued because too much time has passed. And so that happened once in 2023. And in fact, I'll say quite frankly, the one that lasted a long time, I believe that was the one where the complainant said, I want to appeal that, and then when it appealed to the select board, and the select board said that they agreed that it was too late to process the complaint. So that was that's what happened there. And then there was just one that was considered resolved by mediation in 2023. 2024, I thought was more interesting. One was considered frivolous. Four that said filed. Filed meant that there was not enough information to follow up on the complaint. And so they just kind of filed it as there, but we couldn't do anything about it. Unfounded really meant that there was an investigation, and the police officer or civilian in the police department was acted appropriately. So the complaint was not really a but was unfounded. Sustained meant that the complaint was justified. And there were two complaints like that in 2024, and I can tell you that they were sustained against the same person, and the person happened to be a parking control person who is not a sworn officer. It's considered to be those are considered to be civilian employees of the police department. But it was that particular person. It was about rudeness, quite frankly, a person being very rude, sustainably rude. And so that was what we had there. We can scroll up a little bit. I explained more about the outcome category. Can you scroll up a little, scroll down, pardon me, a little bit, Sarah? I just want to show that, yeah. So that's where we've got I explain exactly what the different categories mean. That's it. Next page, please, Sarah. Okay, so this is where explains what I found by looking at the unredacted records, and I think that's what the work they're talking about. Okay, so the complaint types have generally been rudeness, general rudeness, inappropriate reprimanding of civilians for what the civilian felt was innocuous behavior. And that was something. And by the way, a civilian interpretation of innocuous behavior might be that the civilian parked at a Starbucks, ran in to get their order, and came out again and got a ticket, and or at least a chewing out by the officer who was for being parked in a bus zone, that kind of a thing. Then there's failure to enforce bicycle car interaction laws, which came up more than once. And the other thing was taking the other side in a dispute between a civilian complainant and other civilians. There were one or two cases in which two civilians were arguing and the police were called, and one of the complainants felt that the police took the other complainant's side inappropriately. Okay. My general impression was that the investigating officer in 2023 it was Chuck Thornton, in 2024 it was Ray Richards. But they've been conscientious about following up on civilian complaints within 2 days of receiving them, which is mandated, and sending the investigative reports to the chief in a timely manner when the investigations are complete. I found that whenever possible, the IAO has offered the complainant and any other identified witnesses the opportunity to testify in private with the IAO. Also, when available and appropriate, the IAO has made use of additional sources of information about cases, and that includes things like body camera footage, and sometimes in some cases there was other video footage. For example, if there was a complaint about being parked in the wrong place, and an establishment nearby happened to have video footage covering that particular date and time. And the proprietor might offer that video footage, and that further corroborates or not what the parties there said. The IAO has typically sought to bring the complainant and the BPD personnel named in the complaint together to discuss findings. I consider that worked well with mediation. There was and I think Ray Richards was especially good at doing that, quite frankly. In cases of alleged abuse or overreaction, the most common outcome has been successful mediation where the complainant and BPT understand each other's perspectives on what happened, especially if there is video evidence and the complaint is considered settled or withdrawn. Please scroll down a little bit, please, Sarah. Okay, that's the last one. Yeah, this is the two cases in 2024 with a parking control officer. And as I mentioned before, and that's pretty much it. That's my entire report. The so-called appendix, which is the whole GA 34.3 a protocol for investigating civilian complaints, and I stuck that in as I put that in as an appendix just so people who wanted to really look at it in detail could. So that's pretty much it. And the idea is what we need to vote to approve the report and as the report. And when that's true, then I can forward it to the select board. The reports are considered to be for this our report, the PCAC's report to the select board about this stuff. This would be the report covering the years 2023 and 2024. There is also a place on the PCAC's webpage to post this report. There's only one report there so far. It was the one done in 2022, which is naturally out of date. So I'd like to vote that we submit this report to the select board, and also to post it on our website, assuming the select board has no problem with it. So do I have a motion to do that?
Well, I'd like to make some comments if I could first.
Great, go ahead.
First I apologize to treating everyone to some of my daughter's singing, which started playing in a background tab there. First a question, I guess. In 2024, do you know the raw number of civilian feedback of online feedback form entries that were submitted? Only 2 of them were elevated to complaints, but we got a much larger number of actual submissions, I believe, right?
Okay, so I don't know offhand, but Sarah may know or can easily find out on the civilian feedback forms how many there were in 2024.
I don't know that number off the top of my head, and I would need to look back at all the reports from 2024 to get that number.
Okay.
So my suggestion. So there's 2 amendments that I'd like to make to the suggest making to the report, and I think we could include them both in the final motion if folks think that this is a reasonable idea. So the first is just adding a footnote to that place in year 2024, where it has a total of 2 online civilian feedback form entries. Just noting that 2 of the whatever number it is submissions were deemed to be an actionable complaint, right? Just to explain why that we didn't just get 2 entries that year, but that 2 of the 15 or 34 or whatever the number is submissions were deemed to be an actionable complaint, as a footnote. And then the other thing, and this is my hobby horse, so it probably won't be a surprise, but I'd like to add 1 bullet point to the conclusions, just stating, well, I'll just read the exact words I wrote down, and we'll see what we think about that. Over this time period, 5 complaints were either filed or not sustained due to lack of sufficient information. The committee has made changes to the forms to attempt to make this outcome less likely in the future. Just to try to tie this with our ongoing work on that form.
Okay, that sounds good. So do I have a motion to approve the report with the additions that Scott is suggesting?
I'll make that motion. I did want to hear from people to make sure that I wasn't off on my own here, that people thought those were reasonable.
I guess the only question I would have is, are you referring to the feedback form? So my memory is from the feedback form, there is actually the option to submit a complaint. And so some of these are situations where people have had the opportunity to submit and go through the complaint process and have affirmatively chosen not to do that. And so I'm wondering if we're combining 2 separate categories into one.
I do want to be precise. So there are 3 lines on the form: BPD online complaint form, PCAC online complaint form, and online civilian feedback form. And it's that last one, the online civilian feedback form, where I think that we have many more submissions, but only 2 of them were actionable complaints. Is my understanding right?
I think that's correct, and we could spell that out, but I would like to, if Sarah could actually kind of get us the total number of those, that would be great. Can you do that on the back end with SurveyMonkey, Sarah? And I suppose if there was going to be an issue, it might have to be with separating the test ones from the real ones, but that might be
I
possible.
would have to look at each of the, like, I'd have to look at the, honestly, it would be very difficult to do. I would have to manually do it. Like I'd have to go through each of the complaints because there are people who've submitted test complaints, like all throughout this process, not
Yeah.
just the first 11, but we've definitely gotten other tests. So I have to go through. We have 62 responses. We definitely have more responses than 62. We have 62 that we count in the data. So I would need to manually count from January 1, 2024 through December 31st, 2024. And I would need to make sure that I'm not counting any test
Can we-
sessions. It would
Can we
take,
just use the 62 number and change the phrasing of it? So
well,
if,
we have 62 as of today. Or as of the last time
you need to figure out how many of them were in
I
2020.
don't know how many were submitted in 2024. I don't know that number off the top of my head. And I wouldn't even be comfortable, even if I did, I wouldn't be comfortable saying we had 20 complaints submitted because I would want to make sure that I'm not mistakenly counting test submissions.
I mean, just in the interest of moving this on, I would be happy with making the phrasing. There were more submissions made on this form. 2 of them were deemed to be an actionable complaint. I mean, just to make that clear to the limits of our actual knowledge.
Okay, that sounds good. So, would anyone else like to comment? Okay, so.
If I could just,
Okay.
again, are we combining 2 separate things, I guess is the question that I have. Are we combining people who didn't want to go through the complaint process and now making them complaints in the final tally? I have no problem documenting it. I just wonder if we should, a footnote is fine, but I just wonder if it should be detailed in some way so that it specifically identifies these were not formal complaints filed. I believe the 62 number is probably going to include some positive
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely would.
also, right?
the percentage of positive feedback versus negative feedback is at the top of the report. That I can give you right now.
Okay. I mean, any numbers I think would help. I'm just trying to quantify. Like, it just
So
seems.
we have 24 very positive, 20 very negative, 8 somewhat negative, and 10 and these are all self-selected. This is 10 that are neutral. So percentage-wise, it looks like this. 38.71% are indicated as very positive. 32.26% are indicated as very negative. 12.9% are somewhat negative, and 16.13% are neutral.
So if I could just add in here, like, so there's additional data that's captured in what Sarah just went over. But my memory is that the task that Ron was working on is a review of the civilian complaint process. And is that process being followed? And again, I'm not sure that this data here is necessarily part of that. Are these categorized as class A, B, C, or D complaints?
They are not categorized in that way at all.
Right, are we
So that-
following the
that's
30-day
exactly my,
timeline? Is that, these are separate, and I'm just not sure when we're combining this data with that data. It's almost, it's almost like it has to be its own appendix, a separate thing. If we want to do a report on the civilian feedback form, I mean, that doesn't seem to be a problem either. I'm just not sure that meshing that with a whole separate process is gonna paint an accurate picture.
yeah, I mean, my goal is just to clarify that, I mean, 'cause there's a distinction between a form that only 2 people have found and submitted versus the form that has had 62 submissions over some time period, right? And so I'm just trying to clarify that there is this form is being used, right? That there were, I'm not even, I mean, I'm not intending to cast any shade on 2 of them being actionable even. It's, I just want to sort of establish that that like you said, that this is not a report on the civilian feedback form, and there were other submissions. Only 2 of those civilian feedback form submissions made it into this process. That's the facts that I'm just trying to establish.
I think
I would
that would be
also
fun.
wonder what, like, who decided they were actionable? Because if people are submitting to the civilian feedback form, are they saying that they want them to be actionable as part of like an internal investigation process, or not? Because was it something that the PCAC decided to submit to the
Yeah,
internal investigation?
okay.
Because like they may have chosen specifically not to do that.
That's actually interesting. The spirit in the beginning, when we first conceived of the civilian feedback form, would be that both in your roles, Sarah would look at it and would look at the submissions, and also the IAO officer would see the submissions, and just in general, and if the IAO, and then it would turn out that if the IAO perceives, and this is almost a de facto, if the IAO officer perceived that something looked like a complaint that could be followed up on, the IAO officer pretty much at their discretion followed it up as a complaint. De facto, I think that's the way it worked. That doesn't mean we formally decided to do it that way, but I think it might actually have worked out that way. I know in the beginning, it was just, all we cared about was making sure that someone in the police department was aware of the feedback. And the way we decided to do that was to have both someone from Sarah's office and the police department be able to view the feedback a feedback form when it was submitted. And I think in SurveyMonkey we had, they might have, I don't, pardon me if I don't remember this correctly, sir, but when a submission came, actually you already told us that it was at the end of the month, you would just kind of review and see them all. That's
Yeah,
the way it works.
I read the report once, I checked the SurveyMonkey once a month.
Yeah, okay. Well, I believe at some particular point, the IAO officer was able to see, or someone in the police department, I thought it was an IAO officer, was able to see the submissions from SurveyMonkey also. I know that was the original intent of the when we
Yeah, but licensing changed that. So at some point in either during 2024 or after, it like there was me and only one other person. I don't know if it was the internal investigations officer or not. I don't control the back end of the town SurveyMonkey. But I know that, like, for example, you used to have access to the SurveyMonkey, but they took that away from you.
Yeah.
I don't know who the other person is, to be honest.
I don't know who it is either. I used to have access to it, and I used to get an email letting me know that there's been something submitted, and then I would have to log in and review it. But as Sarah just said, licensing restrictions were implemented, and they took my license away. And I don't honestly know at this, well, I think SurveyMonkey's dead. I
Well,
don't know who had licenses prior to that.
I did, but I genuinely don't know who the other person is. And like the surveys off the website, and the town can do, the town may have cleared the data at this point. That's the other thing, Ron. I don't know if I can go back through manually. I don't know.
Okay, so,
Yeah, so I found in our minutes from March 31st, we have rough data. There's a tally of all the responses before that in the February civilian feedback survey report, and it says from December. Yes, sir. Here we go. From January 27th, no, sorry, starting in 2024. Yeah, from January 27th to February 23rd, no additional responses recorded. From February 24th, 2024 to March, one additional. From March to April, one additional, no additional. Then two additional received from May 30th to August 12th. From August 13th, 2024. Yeah, so it just says one. If you add them all up, there were about 9 received during 2024. I agree. I don't want to like create more work to figure out exactly whether the number was 8 or 9 or 10 or whatever, but it was something like that. I think if we're happy with just saying that there were more submissions to this form and 2 were deemed to be actionable, we can sort of move on from there. If we want to tweak the wording to make it clear that the other submissions were feedback, not necessarily complaints, I'm totally open to suggestions on the wording.
So, should we try to decide on the wording right now so we can vote on it right now, or?
Yes, if you're gonna vote on it, and actually, and also if you're gonna vote, are you voting to just submit it to the select board, or are you voting that you want to publish it?
Should that be 2 different votes? I think we should start with submitting it to the select board.
So if I can do it, like just as a matter of process, let me make a motion and then we can see if I mean, there's a process. You can all decide if we need multiple votes, if we need to break this up. But as I understand, Ron, the vote he's asking for is to approve the report as submitted by Ron with 2 amendments, and I'm just going to read them again just to have them on the record. 1, adding as a conclusion, quote, over this time period, 5 complaints were either filed or not sustained due to lack of sufficient information. The committee has made changes to the forms to attempt to make this outcome less likely in the future. And change 2, to add a footnote to the table with the civilian online feedback form where it says total 2, and the footnote would say, quote, there were more submissions to this form. Let's say there were more feedback submissions to this form. 2 were deemed to be an actionable complaint. The report with these amendments is to be submitted to the select board and published on the Brookline website under the PCAC. Period. That was a lot. Sorry, Sarah.
No, that's it. That is what I said originally, but now I'm asking, does anybody feel that we should have 2 different votes between submitting it to the select board and publishing it? Does anybody have any feelings about that?
The only thing I'm asking is because you said if the select board approves it, then we will publish it.
Yeah.
So if you want to wait until they approve it, then you shouldn't publish it. If you don't care if they approve it, publish it.
Can I amend the motion to say submitted to the select board and upon their approval, publish it on the PCAC website?
Okay.
Somebody should get that motion like word for word so I can,
I will
in the next.
I will write it down
correctly.
I mean, while I try to write it, I just want to make sure that people agree with the general form.
Paul Yee, let's separate the civilian complaint and the civilian feedback completely. I don't want any mention of the civilian feedback within this particular report. I think it's close and it just confuses. I think if we want to do a separate report on that, I think that would be appropriate. I think it should stand separate. And because it's, we're talking apples and oranges. We're not talking the same data. I agree with the deputy superintendent. The data is not the same, the classification is not class A, B, C, or D, I think it's just too confusing to make an offhanded remark, and then that sort of perks people's interest about all of that data that could be out there that we're just mentioning offhand. To me, I think it's confusing. I think this is just cleaner. This is what Ron has reviewed. This is a summary of all of that. And these are the conclusions that he's come to. And the question is whether or not we as a committee will accept and approve what Ron has done and has written and concluded. If we don't, then we could start fidgeting around with the report. And so I'm against any amendments to it at this point in time.
I guess I kind of agree because I thought this was all going to be tabled, and now I'm very confused.
What was going to be tabled was the New Zealand feedback form, making more modifications to that, which is completely different from this. But the fact that the very fact that it's confusing says something.
I mean, I'm willing to drop the footnote too. I mean, this is something we can address in future. I mean, I think it has revealed that there is some confusion about how this report and that form relate, and I was trying to lessen the confusion, and I may have inadvertently increased it instead, and I apologize for that. And so if folks feel like, I mean, I would like to propose the amendment to the conclusion, just because I think that does tie into what we have been trying to do with this form for the past year. But if the footnote is adding more confusion than it is adding more explanation, I'm happy to drop it.
Could you read the footnote as you've written it again, please?
I had written that there were more feedback submissions to this form, but only 2 were deemed to be actionable complaints.
Yeah, I think we got to, at this point, I'm hearing taking into consideration what other people have been saying, I think I would like to drop that.
I'm fine with that.
Okay, so at this particular point, are we just planning to vote on whether to submit the report as is to the select board? Okay, may I have a motion to do that?
Paul Yee, I move that we accept and approve the biannual assessment of Brookline Police Department civilian complaint procedures for the years 2023 and 2024 as the final report of the PCAC.
I second it.
So does this going to require another motion in the future to publish this on the website?
I'm just I'm just dealing with this report right now, and then we could talk about publishing, if and when it's appropriate. That's the way I'm looking at it right now. It's the simplest thing.
I'd like to propose a friendly amendment just to add the and upon approval, publish on the website, so we don't have to do this again.
It's fine with me, with
Okay, so fine. I'll make a motion to that we submit the report as our final report to the select board, and upon approval by the select board, publish it on our website.
That sounds good.
Okay, and so actually, did you just say you seconded it, Paul? Scott, I missed that.
I think Scott said second, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did a friendly amendment and seconded. Yeah,
right. So he seconded. Okay.
Okay, so I'll do a roll call vote. Paul Yee,
Yes, aye.
Scott,
Scott Ananian, aye.
John,
John Hilliard, aye.
Christine,
Christine Knopf, aye.
and Kimberly.
Kimberly Richardson, aye.
Okay, and the chair votes aye, so we've passed unanimously to submit the report to the select board, and upon approval of the select board, we will publish report on our PCAC website. Wow, let's get that saga over. It's been a long time.
Very much.
Okay, Sarah, can we please bring up the agenda again? Okay, so 5D, do we have a report on ice activity in Brookline from now Superintendent Paul Campbell and Deputy Superintendent Russell O'Neill?
Yeah, so I can take this one. It's a short update. We don't have any information on ice activity in Brookline since the last PCAC meeting.
That's good news.
About a month and a half or so. Okay, and that's where we are. Okay, so
Can I ask a question?
yes.
Question, the superintendent. I'm wondering if this topic covers. I've sort of learned over the last couple of weeks sort of some distinctions between various federal agencies under like Department of Homeland Security and sort of Customs, Border Patrol, and ICE. And I'm wondering if your reports cover ICE and Customs and Border and some of those other agencies.
I can answer it this way. We don't have any information of any immigration related activity since the last meeting. Yeah, if some other agency came in and was acting, I don't know, in lieu of ICE, that's not a distinction I would make for the purposes of this meeting. I think I understand what's being asked.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so future topics and agenda. Would someone like to suggest future topics?
But I say the same thing I say every month.
Yeah, honestly, I don't think you need to say it. I think it's a standing thing on the agenda, to be honest. But if you really feel the need to, go ahead.
I'll just formally make the report that we continue our reports on ICE activity. I hope for many more reports like we had tonight.
Yeah, just to follow up on so probably next meeting, Sarah and I can do some overview of the website and suggest some changes to make it either more balanced or just put together a point of view on the website in general. So maybe that's a topic for next month.
Okay. Any other suggestions? For example, maybe not next month, but a month or two after that, do we want to have a general review of how the new Google based feedback form is going? Who's using it and how well it's working, and are people filling in what we want, and etc. I guess we're doing a monthly reports on submissions anyway, so maybe it's not necessary to have that as a separate topic. But anyway, any thoughts on that?
Are we? I mean, we're getting monthly. We'll have a monthly report on submissions from it, right?
Yeah.
That's a standing piece on the agenda.
Why don't we give it 3 or 4 months and get some data, get some experience with the new form, and then we can make some decisions about how it could be changed or improved.
Okay, that sounds good.
Oh, I'm just looking at our previous one. I was asked. Oh, this is. I was looking at the meetings from March 31st. But this is, I guess, appropriate always. Town meeting is coming up in a couple months. We have I'm always interested in getting a budget update ahead of town meeting. I don't know when I don't know if February might be too early, but sometime between now and May, update on how the move to civil service has gone, update on hiring, update on open positions, all that kind of stuff, which tends to get talked about at this time of year as we make the budget. And there's an override as well. I'm kind of interested in knowing if the police department has requests in the override, which are going to be part of that as well.
I just want to remind the PCAC that I believe it was originally scheduled for March and September that you get a 6-month report from the department.
Oh, from the police department.
Yeah. So March would be a great time for this. Sarah, the minutes from March 31st say, quote, Sarah Kaplan reminded the committee that there's typically a 6-month update in March and September. So you're very consistent as well.
Yes. Thank you.
So this, pardon me.
One last thing, because I know that Paul brought it up last meeting or the meeting before, there were topics that is in your charge that you've not worked on yet. So you may want to pick one or two.
Excellent point. And I don't know, what's the best way to do this? We could have everyone take a look at our charge. Every member look at our charge. And if they have any kind of thoughts about what they would like to tackle next, they could email it to Sarah, or would that make sense?
I think it'd be best if they email it to you as chair, since I don't control the discussion. I just write the agenda.
Okay. So anyone who's interested in reviewing our charge and thinking about things we haven't addressed yet, please email to Paul Yee and myself. We're co-chairs, and I know, Paul, you have, I think you've even mentioned a few topics like that in particular that we'd be interested in, but then we can review those and decide which of those to put on the agenda for the next meeting.
Completely agree.
1 second. I want to just show everybody really quick where to find your charge. So it's very easy to find. Go back to share screen. So it's on your webpage and it's right there. It's the first link, complete committee charge. It's a PDF. You can click it. It will open up on screen, or you can download it. Okay.
Yep. Okay. Is there anything else that anyone would like to suggest? If not, we can make a motion to adjourn. Are there any concerns, for example, about the scheduled dates for future meetings?
I just want to remind the committee that your next meeting is February 23rd, 2026. Obviously, if we have a snowpocalypse, we may move to a fully remote meeting.
Okay. So other than that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Paul Yee, motion to adjourn, please.
I second that motion.
Okay, and we've got to do a roll call vote. So Paul Yee.
Aye, yes.
Scott Ananian.
Scott Ananian, yes.
John Hilliard.
John Hilliard, yes.
Kimberly Richardson.
Kimberly Richardson, yes.
And Christine Knopf.
Christine Knopf, yes.
And Ron Wilkinson, the chair, votes yes. So the meeting is officially adjourned. Thanks, everybody. See you.
Thank
hopefully
you.
third.
Thank you.
Good night,
Stay safe,
everybody.
everybody.